Right, 1906 Drummond Type B flatbed lathe. Still in fully operational order. It's not a treadle model anywhere, which is what these cutouts in the suds tray are. I've got it set up here with a 3rd horsepower motor at the back, which I've set up on a mechanism that allows me to adjust the belt tension and stop it from vibrating with the spring setup that I had on it before. Everything on this is pretty much original, except that's not the right tool post. There is a problem setting the tool height for a dead center on this lathe, so what I have to do, because I've got a limited amount of clearance here, I've got a 10mm tool in there at the moment. The base plate on the tool post is 4mm, and I've had to grind that down probably to the tool to about 6mm height to give me a center on the chuck. So that is a sort of limiting factor. However, once you're up to speed with it, it's not a problem at all. We've got mountains of bits with it. It can cut left and right hand threads. I just need to set the gears up on this end here slightly differently than I've got them at the moment, and all I do to change the gearing from forward to reverse is undo that there, and I can move this whole gear train at the end so that it comes in from the other side. I haven't got that set up at the moment, but basically that usually has 2 smaller gears at the top of here and the position either side of the end gear on the main shaft, and I rock it either way to engage forward or reverse on the drive feed. At the moment, the system of gearing I've got it, which I'll show you closer up in a minute, is to give me the slowest possible feed rate for putting on the automatic feed for cutting mild steel. So I've got these little pressure regulating valves I've been turning for different things. I turned down old agricultural bolts to make them with, but it's quite capable of turning steel to a reasonably good standard, and it's very good at turning aluminium and brass and everything else. Cracking little lathe. I picked it up for, I think it was £375, and man, I wouldn't part with the thing, you know. Anyway, to cut a long story short here, we'll just move the camera back a wee bit there. Check that's on the lathe. Start her up. So this is her running. Runs really silently. The feed engages beautifully slowly like this. It's coming along there. It runs a different feed mechanism. If I can just take you into the back end of the lathe there. That takes me on to and I'll disengage it. It feeds the power from the gear end along a shaft underneath the lathe, and then goes through a double gear system at the end, and goes onto the feed screw, which is in the middle of the bed. The whole setup's cast iron, pretty much foolproof. Pretty much foolproof. Okay, here we are at the business end. These gears are fed from the drive shaft, from the main shaft, sorry, and then that goes to a large pinion, reduced to a small, taken up to large, and there's a small pinion on the back of this which goes to the main drive there. So it's that's the maximum reduction I can have in the main shaft speed. I'll just start that up and you can see the system working. Very silent, beautiful little thing. Now, right, you will notice over the back here, this little chappy here, this is the back gear. A small pinion here and the large pinion here. I can lock the main shaft for taking the chuck on and off by flipping this lever here and pulling that back to engage like that. That's the whole system rigid now. So now I can just simply slacken off this chuck as easily as that. So can you see that? And retighten it. Now the back gear is there for a dual purpose though. Right, now by releasing this nut and pushing it in, we've changed the gearing completely, because what happens now is that where the power comes in here and with the back gear engaged, now it does not lock the main shaft. What's happening is it's driving independently of this. These two are not locked together anymore. The pulleys and this gear are not locked together because I've dropped that bolt into the innermost position. So what's actually happening is the pulleys are driving the small pinion at the end, which are driving the large gear shaft, which then drives the small pinion at the back, which then drives the larger pinion for the main shaft to drive the chuck. So if we now look at the reduction of speed by starting her up here, you'll see that we're going extremely slowly on the chuck. I can vary that speed obviously with the 3 different sizes on the pulleys, and by altering them on the motor obviously at the same time. It gives you a very useful range of speeds. So I've got 3 speeds in this lower range. If I pop it off again, I'll bring you around a bit. And what I'll do here, I'll release this nut again, and we'll bring her to the outermost position, but I've got to do this carefully so I get it engaged properly. And I'll drop that rag. Now we've locked that back, where it fits into a little slot that's hidden in the back of the pulley wheel. So now we should be back to a situation where this is locked because the back gear is engaged, like so. So I disengage the back gear now, flip that lever over to lock it so it can't engage by accident, and there we are, back up to high speed again. Now with the chuck off, in the main shaft end here there's an MT1 taper, which is the same taper as in the tailstock. The chuck is a Belco 4-inch British made chuck. If you can see that under the light there. This is the Belco name there. And the other chuck again a 4-inch chuck here, British made, a crown 4-inch chuck, 4-jaw obviously. Just get on there. Change the chucks that easy. This is the little setup I made with the lathe light. Little flexible thing drilled through my swath catcher. I've got 2 spindles there so I can move the light to whichever position I want. It's a 12 volt 10 watt halogen bulb, and it runs off a little transformer. Gives me the light, as you can no doubt see, exactly wherever I want it. Very good, precise little light.